Okay, I know what you're thinking. Kira, you're a PhD student in a STEM subject. How can you make such an anti-woman video? And it's not what you think, but I will explain everything, so stay tuned for the whole video to make sure you get a full understanding of this topic. If you're new here, my name is Kira and I make videos all about PhD and productivity content. Be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Now that's out of the way, let's get into the video. I mentioned recently that I have been wanting to reread some of the productivity books that I've read in the past, particularly this book called Rest by Alex Sujung Kim Pang. And just to get it straight, I am not at all hating on this book. I love this book, but it did cause me to have more of a second thought about things. Essentially, I wanted to get back into reading this book to get back into more of the creative mindset, because I'm finishing up with my transfer this week and then I'll be getting back into project work. So I need to be working creatively, and this book is great for showing you the kind of structure that helps best for creative work, creative problem solving, everything like that. So I was reading one of the chapters recently that in particular is something I want to work on, which is morning routine. I definitely haven't been having a morning routine recently, and I feel like it has had a negative impact. So I was reading through this chapter and, getting remotivated and thinking, yeah, I understand why it's beneficial, except there was one thing that I noticed. Every example in this chapter was from a famous man, either creative or scientist or business person, but one thing in common was that they were all men. And that's a big problem, because productivity does not work the same way for men as it does for women. Hence the title of this video, Why Women Aren't Productive. Let's start off by talking about the structure of the general workday and something called the circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm essentially describes how our hormones and how our energy patterns and everything like that follows the 24-hour day. It's similar to the sun pattern of rising in the morning and setting in the evening. The way our hormones work, we have our jolt of testosterone in the morning, which makes us want to get up and go and get some work done. And then throughout the afternoon, we start to have a little bit of an increase in estrogen, which can make you more likely to want to go and socialize. So doing happy hour or after work drinks with friends, things like that, meal times, family time, all of that. Then in the evening, we start to get low levels of testosterone, an increase in melatonin, which makes us want to go to sleep. So there's obviously lots more that goes into this. There's also cortisol in the morning that sort of gets you going, like stress-wise. That's like your stress hormone. But essentially what I'm trying to say is generally our hormones sort of go with the flow of waking up, getting some good work done 9 to 5, then being social, having some family time, and then resting and going asleep. And then we have hormones to keep us asleep throughout the night. And there's lots of evidence that shows that going against your circadian rhythm can be very, very detrimental to your health. I'm not going to go into all of that. Hopefully we understand that so far. So essentially, when you read any book on productivity, so some of the ones I've mentioned before, like Deep Work, this book called Rest, The 12-Week Year, anything like that, essentially you're trying to optimize the 9 to 5 workday following the circadian rhythm. So trying to maximize your performance in the best hours of the day for your hormones and for your energy levels and all of that. So you've got morning routines to get you up and going even quicker. You've got post-work routines to help you switch off from work and get into that sort of restful family time, all of that. You've got naps, which can really help you to avoid a dip in energy levels throughout the day. Just following a regular routine. And something that this book preaches a lot, especially in the morning routine section, was a regular routine that you stick to all of the time. And that is going to be the key to your productivity. And that makes sense if the circadian rhythm is the only thing governing your hormones and your energy levels, which it is for men. However, for women, we actually have a second hormonal cycle called the infradian rhythm, which many people will probably know as the menstrual cycle. So all of this information is coming from a book called In the Flo by Alissa Vitti. It's one of the best books you could possibly read. because it really is eye-opening about how the hormonal changes throughout the approximately 28-day cycle can affect everything pretty much in your life. I'm gonna have a video of hers linked down below because that was where I first learned about her before getting the full book. I listened to it on Audible, so I'll have a link down below for the book and everything, but it really is eye-opening. Essentially, women also have the infradian rhythm, which is approximately 28 days of hormonal changes, which will then completely change your energy levels and your desire to do different types of work. This will only affect people who are in the reproductive age, i.e. having a menstrual cycle, so post-puberty and premenopausal. It's really more so down to the hormonal changes, which will be dependent on your biology. And it will also be affected by whether you're taking hormones, possibly for contraception or other reasons. It will obviously be affected by that as well. So I'm not going to go into a huge detail on the science. I do think if you want to know everything about it, I really highly recommend reading the book, but I will go through the basics and how they're linked to productivity. The first phase is the follicular phase, and it's around 7 to 10 days. And this period will essentially have the rising estrogen hormone, and this will be a good time to be working on creative tasks. Because of the rising estrogen, it means you're in the mindset for creative work, and it helps with that. The first 7 to 10 days is a great time for new experiences. It's a new start to the cycle. Essentially, the end of the cycle is marked by the menstrual period or the shedding of the uterus lining. At the beginning, you got the follicular phase, you've got your rising estrogen. It's a good time to do planning. It's a good time to do creative work, do some complex processing as well, working on new projects, brainstorming, all of that stuff will be the things that will be suitable to do during that time. If you have work where you really need to figure things out, i.e. where you need to do that work where you've got your subconscious working on it as well, so that's something I've talked about a few times, i.e. when you want to follow the creative process, follicular phase will be the best time to do that because your hormones are aligned with that. Then we have the ovulatory phase. Obviously this is the time where your egg is released and you're ovulating. This is 3 or 4 days, and this will be the highest levels of estrogen, and this will make you want to be very communicative and very social. So in your work, this is a good time to do things like have meetings, meet your supervisors, meet your boss, have client meetings, go for interviews, film some videos about your research, and all these different things that involve communication or talking or sharing your research. That's going to be a good time to do that. Then we have the luteal phase, which is 10 to 14 days. And this is the time where you literally will just want to go, work. This is because you've got a high level of progesterone and you've got high levels of estrogen as well. And these are quite in a balanced ratio in a sense. There's more estrogen than progesterone, but like the ratio is optimal for wanting to get stuff done. And I find this extremely. It's something that you'll see in a vlog tomorrow probably. But essentially during this time, I literally could work from dawn till dusk and not tire and still just want to keep going. And it's a time where you feel very antisocial in a sense because you don't have as much time for anything other than work. Now this is a different type of work than you will have in the follicular phase. The follicular is all the new, it's planning, it's starting new projects, it's being creative, it's working on complex tasks. The luteal phase, however, is more like wanting to get stuff done. You want to do admin work, you want to just do all of the stuff you've been putting off, all of the annoying little things, and as well, like, it's a good time to do deep work that is more convergent. When you've done all of the sort of divergent thinking, like the modeling of something, this is a good time to then go and do the like nitty gritty, like analytical work that doesn't require much creative thought, but does require you to focus. So that kind of work, or like writing, like that kind of stuff is really good to do during the luteal phase. And at least it's a long period, so it means that you will be able to get some really good effective work done during that time. Then the last phase we have is the menstrual phase, which is 5 to 7 days. Obviously this is a time where you're going to be menstruating and you're probably going to be feeling lower energy levels in general, and it's a good time for evaluation and reflection. So at this point the neurons are firing between the left and right side of the brains more than any other time during the month, and this means that it's a good time for you to really reflect on your past couple weeks and sort of do some evaluations about whether you're happy with what you're doing and if you're happy with how the project is going and like all of these things. So this is a really good time like for the end of a project or midway through a project where you want to do some sort of evaluation. As you can see, it's not that women aren't productive, it's just that our productivity changes a lot throughout the month. It doesn't mean we can't be productive at each phase. It just means that if we want to be optimally productive, we need to follow somewhat of different work rules at different phases. And that's not something that's supported by most productivity books or by the general workplace structure of a 9 to 5, especially because our energy levels do shift a lot. In the first half, you'll be more energized in the morning, and in the second half you'll be more energized in the evening. You might have noticed this yourself at some point, that you feel like you can stick to a schedule for 1 week and you're doing excellent, and then the next week you just can't, and that will be down to the hormonal changes that you experience. It is normal, it does happen to all of us. I think it just means that we need to be aware of that and try to build schedules that fit different times. Essentially, at the moment, most people are working from home. It's a good time to make the most of that flexible schedule and try to optimize your productivity based on your hormonal cycle. So I now realize that when I read these books, I need to take them with a pinch of salt, and I need to start adapting them more to fit my hormonal cycle. So that could mean having a different morning routine at each stage, and that would be fine. It's something that I would love to do more on this channel. If that's something that interests you, please send me a comment down below just saying that it would be interesting, or give this video a thumbs up so that I know this is the kind of content you're interested in. The book In the Flo also goes through so many things like the food and the exercise and all of the relationship advice for different phases, because as you can tell, there is a lot that changes throughout the month, and it would be good to know how best to support yourself and support your hormones as they change. I think part of the reason earlier this month you would have seen I had some very low motivation days, and I think that was down to not basing my work around the cycle, because there was definitely times where I was doing work that didn't suit, and obviously that's unavoidable at times. But for example, when I was working on the transfer report, when I would have much rather been doing creative work, that obviously was somewhat demotivating, and it made it quite difficult to get through that. Whereas I think if I was working on the transfer report this week, it would have been like, snap, we're done, and I would have been happy to work on it all day. So that's something that I really want to take on board, is that when I'm doing my planning, I need to get back into organizing it around my hormonal cycle, which is something I did do very well right after I read the book, but then I stopped doing. So that's something I need to get back into, and I would love to share more about that as I'm going along. I think that is it for this video. I just wanted to briefly go through all of this. I really hope that it was interesting for you. Again, if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below what you think. Thank you to all of my wonderful members, and thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.